One of the most common things that people are asking about on YouTube is, what is passive income? Is it worth striving to get it? What is not considered passive income? And also just personal experiences with related to passive income. I'm going to actually talk about all of these issues in this video, and if you enjoy what you learned, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. It really does help, and it helps other people learn about this because we're a community where we share information. Anyway, what is passive income? When you think about passive income, means exactly what it says. It means that once you have taken a certain specific number of steps to establish this kind of income, there should be minimal or zero effort to generate this extra income. As an example, an income property, once you bought it, renovated it, you have like a property manager, there really shouldn't be any effort in terms of getting the rent. It should automatically happen. Interest from a bank or dividends from a stock, it's a very common form of passive income. It comes in regularly, either every month or every quarter or every year. Now, people like the idea of passive income because they think that it's a way to retire. There are a lot of people who actually need passive income. For instance, senior citizens, if they're no longer working, they're retired. Maybe digital nomads are on the road and they just don't have the ability to work on daily jobs in order to make extra money. There are also people who are sick or unwell. They're unable to actually go to a job, so they do need to actually have a form of income to pay for bills. We all have bills, and unfortunately it's something that we all have to work on. It's not something that we can just eliminate. Now, the problem with a lot of forms of passive income is that it actually does not replace the income that you would get from a traditional 9-to-5 job. I know a lot of people, they think, oh, I once I have the passive income, I'm done. Well, as an example, if you have $1 million and it's in the average ETF that pays maybe 2 or 3% dividend, that would be about $20,000 to $30,000 of passive income. That's true, and it's taxable too, by the way. I'm not so sure that would replace the income level that you need in order to actually passively retire and just live off the dividends. So that it really has to do with how much you have saved up already that would actually allow you to have the kind of lifestyle you need. Yes, it is a passive income. Maybe if you only need $2,000 extra, $2,000 or $3,000 extra, and you have $1 million and you're still working, maybe that actually bumps up your income level to such an extent that you feel very comfortable. But it's important to realize that passive income, it isn't everything unless you have things unless you already have a lot of money. Oftentimes, that's very true when it comes down to investments. I'll talk about my own experiences with passive income right now. One example of passive income is writing a book on Kindle. I actually took the effort. I wrote the book. It's actually a brilliant idea that I had in terms of how to make this passive income. I basically wrote a summary of a best-selling book, and if you think about it, that makes sense. People are already interested in this book. There's guaranteed interest. People already have shown that this book is one that they want to read. So what I did is I basically wrote a summary of it, because it wasn't actually it wasn't a book that was super easy for everybody to understand the concepts of the book. So by writing a summary, every month I would generate true passive income. Now, how much did I make from this? On some months I made about $200 or $300, and so I think that should actually cause you to ponder the question as to whether passive income is really well worth the time and the effort. Because maybe for some people, the time that would be spent trying to actually write this book, maybe it will not be worth it in the end. Because it actually took me about 2 or 3 days to write this, and I must admit I'm pretty fast in terms of writing something, especially when it's a summary of someone else's ideas. But the great thing about it is that I know that once it's on there probably will be people who are going to be curious about this book and will need a summary. But I'm not expecting to retire from this book, because the truth is that over time there's a secret thing that every author knows. over time the interest in any book goes down unless it's a classic. Like if you have a book like Catch-22 or Gone with the Wind or something like that, people are always going to be reading it. But let's face it, 99.9% of all the books that have ever been printed, almost all of them go out of print, which means there's declining interest. There's not profitable to print new copies, and over time there's less and less interest, and you're going to have declining passive income on that. So that is not something that is sustainable unless you're writing a new book. But there actually is an exception. While my book was a summary of a best-selling book, you probably could write books on topics that will never go out of style. Like for instance, like if you wrote a book about how to deal with how to study well, how to handle relationship issues, how to handle a breakup, how to get back with your ex. I actually wrote a book like that. How just to deal with weight loss, stuff like that. Or of course you need to have, sometimes you need some expertise in these subjects, but if you do, oftentimes you'll find that the interest doesn't decline over time, which is also really, really important, because oftentimes just people just lose interest in certain topics if it's just a fad. But there's so many topics that are timeless and people will always have an interest. So that's my idea on passive income with regard to Kindle. I don't think you're going to be able to retire on this, that very few do, but it is a form of passive income, and I do think it might be a fun way to generate it. Another way that people do generate passive income that I talked about briefly has to do with stocks. Now, the problem with seeing so many young people talking about dividends is that it's actually really kind of a mistake in many ways. When you're young, you should be focusing a lot more on growth over the long run, companies that are generating the growth and not necessarily returning, sending the dividends. Because if you think about it, when a company pays dividends, it basically means that they have no further use of the money. They don't need the money, so they're returning the dividends to you, and you can either reinvest it or you can get it cash. But if you think about it, the company is rapidly growing. It actually needs the cash to spend on research and development. Plus, for young people, they usually don't have enough money to really live off the dividends. So it's more like bragging rights. I see people saying, "Oh, look, it's my paycheck day. Look, I'm getting $100 today." Whereas it doesn't really matter. A lot of stocks can go up too, and maybe they don't pay a dividend, but that still is actually probably a better way over the long run. Also, since dividends are taxable, some people think that it's kind of tax inefficient to get a dividend, because if you're paying a dividend tax on it, it's actually reducing your net worth to some extent. So it might pay to actually have stocks that don't pay you passive income, because maybe the passive income is just seeing the stock rise in value, and that's another issue. Stocks are a form of very passive income. You basically are buying someone else's business. You're not running it. You're letting professionals run it, and you're hoping that over the long run they are increasing the value. And if you don't sell it for a long period of time, it actually is pretty tax efficient. Whereas the dividends, it's almost like it's like a system where they're selling the stock for you, because you could also theoretically pay yourself a little dividend. You don't even with a growth stock, by just selling a little piece of it each and every month, if that's what you want to do. But you don't really have to do that usually when you're younger. So I think it actually pays more for younger people not to think about passive income with stocks, focus on the growth side. Maybe when they're a lot older and there's a lot more money, then it makes sense to focus on the dividends, the passive income from stocks, because I don't see a lot of young people that are just kind of living off their dividends. So I don't think that probably is the right mindset. Another form of passive income has to do with stock photography and stock videos. If you think about it, we live in the multimedia age, so there is a greater and greater demand to actually put pictures that look great, and also videos for whether it's blogs, actual real movies, documentaries, and things of that sort. So there is an increasingly strong interest in really high quality art, photography. videos. And that's one reason why if you do actually have a talent for actually producing this kind of art, I highly recommend trying to upload it on a professional sites like Shutterstock, Dreamstein, Pond 5. Now, here's the problem though. This is a way to generate passive income, but just like with Kindle sales, I found that over time, the sales are not going up. They tend to actually go down. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact is that there's starting to be way more people who take really great footage and they're sharing it more and more on these sites. And as that happens, the revenue you can earn also goes down. So I think the stock photography and stock videos, they probably were a better business and a greater way to generate passive income maybe 10 years ago when it was new and not everybody had a great camera. But nowadays, so many people do have a good camera, and that has actually caused the supply to increase quite dramatically. And as a result, the price people are willing to pay for stock photography and stock videos has gone down pretty dramatically. But it is still a way to generate some passive income. I'll give an example of how it's gone down. I used to earn about $400 a month just from my pictures. Now I have way more pictures and I have video on the site, and the amount of money is down to like $50 a month. Now, it could be related to the thing that's been going around the world, the respiratory issue. I'm not sure if that's related completely, and maybe a lot of businesses, maybe blogs that went out of business no longer buying these images. That could be the case. So it is something to consider. You could generate passive income through this way, but it's not probably the best possible way to generate passive income. Let me talk about one form of passive income that I don't recommend that you pursue because it's considered a very dangerous form of passive income. What some people do with regard to stocks is that they do something called selling volatility. They'll sell calls. That is, they'll assume that some event won't happen. So they'll actually sell calls for, let's say the price of a stock is trading at $100. They'll sell calls at $400. Now imagine overnight some crazy thing happens and the stock goes from 100 to 800. Now, because the event was so unlikely, you probably didn't price it in that this was a very likely outcome. And then when it happens, the price you have to pay because the outcome happened is enormous. Now, you do collect some money if it doesn't happen. It's like a form of premiums, and it is passive in the sense that you will get the money if the event doesn't happen. But if the event does happen, it could actually literally put you out of business overnight. And this has happened to so many hedge funds. They thought this was a form of passive income, generating a little bit extra returns, and the problem is it actually is a disaster for so many people. So I see it on Twitter all the time, people talking about how they make a lot of money selling calls. I even was in law school, there was someone next to me, he talked about how he was selling calls or puts on stocks like Johnson & Johnson because there was an assumption that the volatility is pretty low. And yeah, I agree, usually it is. But what happens when that one instance changes? Like maybe 2020 it actually dropped dramatically, or 2008, and those are kind of hard to predict. So I don't recommend that as a form of passive income, because if the downside risk is really great, it's probably a bad idea. Okay, and I'll talk about one last form of passive income that some people partake in. They can actually sell affiliate links on their websites or maybe on their YouTube channel. And I agree, this is actually a great idea. If you're able to generate millions of subscribers, it's a wonderful idea. I think that some people are misled though. I think that the people who market this idea, hey, I do affiliate marketing, they make it seem really, really easy, that you just put the link on your website and you're going to be generating thousands of links, and all you have to do is pay $3,000 for a good course on the internet, and you're going to be able to do the same thing. And hey, I'm not saying it cannot be done. I do believe that it can be done. I am trying to make passive income through YouTube as an example. So yes, it is actually possible to make money with affiliate links too. But I think that too many people almost jumpstart straight to that idea that I can get the millions of subscribers and links with the affiliate marketing. And I think that that really doesn't work for most people. It actually is a really, really challenging thing to get to get millions of people to watch your stuff. So I think that that is a tough reach in terms of passive income. Oh yeah, one last thing, form of passive income. I think YouTube is literally one of the best forms of passive income, because with one video, it doesn't require any more effort for me. If one person watches this video or a million people watch it, it really is just a matter of how entertaining I can be. So it really requires me to be at a certain level in order to generate the passive incomes. So the most important thing to do is to actually focus on where you can actually generate the biggest result possible, not necessarily on anything else. That's really the most important thing. How can you have the greatest impact? And also while taking the lowest risk. To me, I was already going to go on this walk, so I'm not wasting time being out here. And if one person watches it or a million, it doesn't matter to me. I'm happy with anybody who's watching and enjoying what I have to say. So if you did like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and share it on your social media. I look forward to talking with you in the next video. Thanks.